Hey folks, here we are again. Day 4, we're 4 out of 4. This is Chakra Talk Live. I'm Piper. I run a group called Chakra Talk on Facebook, and I run a business in Salem, Oregon called Marinsky's Magic. And getting a lot of information from either one of those is available on the Facebook sites. This year I published 2 workbooks about Chakra Talk. Chakra Talk, a workbook for life, 1 and 2. If you have any questions regarding those workbooks, they take priority on this show and they will pop to the top. If you have any questions about anything else regarding chakras, of course, I'm happy to talk to you. And today we're going to address a question that came in through Marinsky's Magic before we get started on our big topic of the day, which is gratitude, my favorite. So I've had someone new ask a question about shaking, a lot of shaking. She called it vibrating. She said it's been happening to her for about a year. She talked about having a lot of crystals in the house, and that may be part of it if you've got a lot of energy stored up in there. My personal opinion, though, and it's opinion, I have not met this lady in person yet or done any kind of scans, is this is a vibration moving up and down and hasn't stabilized yet. You can pretty much count on some periods of shaking and feeling cold and instability when you're learning to move through the vibrations up and down. When it was happening to me in the very early days, I would wake up that way, not realizing I'd been out of body, and get slammed back in. And when you come back in and you don't even know you've been gone because you've been asleep, it's really hard to kind of stabilize. Some of the things that do help to stabilize this shaking, the key number one thing I have found that works every time and so far for every person is wrapping up in warm blankets. I believe the heat, the touch, the wrapping re-engages you down into your sense of Lady Rock, Mother Earth, pulls you down into your root chakra. So it brings you right back down into physicality where you're grounded, and that relieves that shakiness. May take a few minutes longer than that to get the brain to settle down or to get the brain to re-engage, but really pulling yourself back down into your body. Another thing I've seen that worked for me when I wasn't where I could wrap up with a hot blanket is to sit and stomp my feet for just a couple, maybe 1 minute. Stomp, 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 both of them hard on the ground. And again, I think that's re-engaging with Mother Earth, pulling you down into your root chakra, down into the Earth Star, getting your stability back. Because when we go off and travel out of body, the body stays here doing what it does as a body. The root keeps running all the automated stuff, but it's just sitting. It's not getting any maintenance. So the longer you're out, the more you come slamming back in. And you don't necessarily have to be out of your body. You may be experiencing a lot of shaking or vibration or internal, what we used to call butterflies in your stomach. If you're traveling and moving through these physical chakras and they aren't stabilized either. Another reason for that could be that you have a hook and a leak, but that's something that's not probably wouldn't have just kept going the same for a year. It probably would have gotten worse. Okay, I hope that answered your question. And if anybody else wants to join in and talk to her about the shaking experiences you've had, that's fine. She's actually not here right now. She came in to me from the other page, and I spoke to her, but I wanted to bring it up because it happens to most everybody once they start this ascension process. People sometimes ask me, what do you mean by ascension? It sounds like you're flying off into the stars. We're talking about ascending through vibrational frequencies, up, 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 up. The frequencies get higher, and you do actually ascend beyond the body, but it's frequency, it's energy. It's not flying off the planet. It's taking care of the vibrations while you're still here on the planet and keeping that all together. So that's what I mean by stabilization, getting able to live in those very high chakra realms where I live, where I spend a good half of my time is basically in the non-physical. And my body's just kind of sitting here at the house doing what it does. And I'm working over there, and then I bring information and whatever. But I've learned to do that with minimal shaking. I still have occasions when, if I'm particularly gone for a long time, if I'm busy working in 2 or 3 hours, I'm out doing whatever, and then I come back to my realization here, sometimes my body's very cold. So if you get to the point where you're working a lot and your body's kind of left on its own, put a warm blanket on it. I find it works wonders. And then Then when I return to the body, it's all nice and warmed up, and I just slip right in. No issue at all. Many of you may not think of out of body quite the way I do, so I'm going to explain that just a little, and then we're going to get to today's topic. Out of body means anything outside the 7 chakras. So what you've heard about a lot in, hi Pauletta, and I did address your question, and anyone else who wants to address it to her, please. She has questions about the shaking, the vibrations, the ascension symptoms. So I'm happy to let anybody else jump in here and visit with me or give me information or ask other questions, whatever works. Lost my train of thought, train left, choo, gone. Okay, we're going to go on to our basic main topic today. We've been kind of moving up the chakras through the body, and we've made it to the heart chakra. And I want to talk to you extensively about gratitude and the green heart chakra, and I'll talk to you a bit about the pink energy and the compassion for humans and love and romance and all that wonderful stuff that comes with the pink energy. But my focus today is on the green energy, and that is unconditional source energy. Those of you with a religious background probably know this as God's unconditional love. I have a very long and extensive religious background that I survived. And I see things very differently now. But part of what I see looking back at the things I was told is that they have parts of it right, but they don't know why, or they claim to have parts of it right, or they claim to experience parts of it, but they experience the knowledge from a book. They don't experience living that way. We're going to talk about actually living a life of gratitude today. One of the first things that happens in a newborn child is that they contact their mother. The energy from the root chakra of the child contacts the root chakra of the mama, and they're just bonded just like that, and it's just the fastest thing you've ever seen. Talk about love at first sight. That's it. And as soon as that happens, and as soon as another human responds to that infant, the first positive response they get, boom, heart chakra opens, and that pure love of God, if that's what you want to call it, just comes pouring out of that child. It comes out the front, it comes out the back, it radiates all around them. There is nothing you can do to turn it off. There is nothing they did to turn it on. This is the unconditional love, unconditional source energy. This is the big energy that we're a little piece of. People who have a strong religious background feel much more comfortable calling that God. Because of my religious background and the survival of it and the trauma that came from it, I feel more comfortable not calling it God. But we are talking about the same thing, okay? This is the source energy that created this place, that creates everything we see all day, every day. Remember, there's only the one energy, constantly expanding. Nothing can interfere with it. This is just what it is. This is what God does on a Friday afternoon. Okay? This is it. Okay. I want to talk with you today about this gratitude and how to make it something in your life, big in your life, huge. It's the game changer. We've covered this business of this human chakra business down to here, and it's brought us right up here to the heart. Okay? We talked about physical ailments and all the kinds of things that can happen and go wrong down here, coming disconnected from your root. All sorts of problems. Once you have that stabilized and your body is living a normal, productive life, you're not dying, you're not sick, you're not in agonizing pain, the energy is naturally going to keep moving up. Well, as it's moving up, it's coming up here and it gets to this heart chakra. And I've talked to you about this being an intake valve. It's an intake valve for source energy. And what is source energy? Source energy is anything not of your own body. Okay? So the energy I'm getting from the emanations from the plants in the yard, that's a portion of source energy. When Kooky comes in here and climbs in my lap and snuggles me, that's source energy. When I speak to my 6,000-year-old Siberian shaman guide, that is source energy. Anything that is not produced within this particular set of body by this particular crown chakra is source energy. Well, okay, so all energy, everything that's not us, is coming in through this heart chakra. It can enter front, it can enter back. This is kind of like a swinging door, if you will. If you've seen the old-fashioned saloons where the doors swing like this, it's kind of like that with the heart chakra, because there's so much energy just coming and going day in and day out from everywhere except from in here. How we respond to that energy is greatly responsible for whether that energy goes up or whether it gets sucked down into the pit. And we talked about it being sucked down into the pit. If you let it drip down into the depths long enough, it's going to make you sick. It can even kill you. I mean, it damn near did. I gave myself cancer because I hated people who had done bad things to me. So this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about gratitude. And I'm not talking about good manners, and I'm not talking about please and thank you, and I'm not talking about being grateful for all the great things you have. I'm going to talk to you about gratitude for the crap in your life and how you can turn this around and make it work for you. Because like I said, it is the game changer. If you continue to be angry and hateful about things that happened to you years ago, yesterday, 10 minutes ago, it doesn't matter. You're holding on to spite. You're holding on to vengeance. You're holding on to, I don't know, fear. Fear is the driving force of all that, but it expresses mostly its hate. And that's way down here. That sense of competition and hate is generated primarily through problems in the orange chakra. Well, if you've got an orange chakra and a yellow chakra that are not healthy, remember they always work together, you've got that hatred dripping down through there. It's like acid eating a hole in your soul. I mean, literally. I mean, it makes you sick. Life becomes not worth the struggle. It's because it's just struggle. There's nothing to be joyful about. Everything's fear and hate, and why even bother? You know, we have so many people these days committing suicide, and people look at that and look at it as a great loss or a great sin. Even people even think that's a sin, or there's people here who are devastated by it, and they push this. You're not relieving your pain. You're giving it to other people and all of this. But I want you to understand that's an option. We came here with these things alive. We have the built-in knowledge of how to turn it off. And if that's the way you decide to go, that's the way you decide to go. As a registered nurse, I've known quite a few suicides. Not a single one of them was, I'm going to do this to hurt other people. Their pain was just more than they could tolerate. So they exited. And that's okay. They went back. They go, the energy just comes back again. They didn't finish a journey. A journey gets interrupted that way. They don't complete what they came here for. You can guarantee if you go out with suicide, you're going to come back. Okay? So that's an option. But if you know that going out that way is going to for sure bring you back, well, then that's your option. That's not other people's option to decide. There's none of this going to heaven and going to hell. You're going to go into recycling, and I can tell you where that's done, and I can tell you how the process goes, and you're going to get a new assignment and a new contract, and you're going to come back and do this again. The journeys get done. The lessons get learned, whether you learn them in one lifetime or 10,000 lifetimes. Something that has come very clear to me and to Joe is that when you are on the final lifetime, you wrap it all together and it all comes to make sense. All the strands come back together and it makes this nice, big, solid rope for you to climb home on. It's just fantastic. But the way to do that is to get this energy stabilized, stable, and then get it way on up and out above the body. Joe's real big on this Buddhist thing of die before you die. And what that means is have some idea of what you're going to do once you get out of this body and when you get over there. Well, for me personally, because I have a lot of work I do on the other side anyway, I already know where I'm going. I have a place there to go to. When I was a child, I was raised in the Church of Christ, and my God, I was scared to death of going to hell. It terrorized me. Well, learning to control my chakras, I can tell you that there is a place like hell that you're talking about in the Bible. It's a particular area in the Million Voices chakra, and it serves a particular purpose. And it's not a place where God sends you. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with you being a sinner. It's a place where you go because lessons didn't get completed and you have work to do, and you can get stuck there. Well, when you get stuck there, what is the definition of hell? Hellfire and damnation for all eternity. Well, it's all eternity until you recycle and come back again. Okay? It's not eternity. It's not. Eternity is advancing out in front of us. It has nothing to interrupt it. It's not stopping. We have no reason to believe it's stopping. Put it out of your mind. That's not a place you're going to go and be tortured if you know what you're doing down here. Knowing what you're doing down here is getting control of these chakras. It's the funniest thing to me. We practice for everything in the world in this life except dying, and that's the one thing we're all going to do. Every single one of us comes here with a terminal illness called life. We're dying. Everyone goes out of here dead. There's been 2 exceptions to that, and you have to go back and look in your Bibles and find them. I'm not getting into that right now, but there is records of 2 people who ascended and just left their bodies behind. Okay? 2 people out of how many billions? We're all getting out of here dead. When we leave here, it seems to me that it'd be more comfortable if we know what we're doing when we step on the other side. When you go and start college, what do? You sit down, you read every one of the college magazines, you look at all the college things, you read everything about what's going on there, you go through and you walk through and look at all the food places and you see where you're going to sit and what you're going to do. Well, you can do all that from the other side too. You make your plan, you get yourself straight, you get to where you can go over there and visit. There's nothing to it. I'm telling you, it's just right over there. Okay, but today, what I want to talk to you about is how to get up there. Because if you're down here, stuck in this lower pit thing, dealing with cancer, hating the world, hating your life, man, this place can suck. Bad. I was here. It sucked. I'm still here in the same place, and I live the most glorious life. I have absolutely just completely, and I've said this before, turned my life upside down. As much as one life can change from what it was to what it is, everything has changed. Everything. Hi, folks, everybody joining me. I don't stop and chit-chat a lot unless you've got questions because, whoop, the train will leave. So I'm just going to keep talking. So I want to get real focused on gratitude, and I want to focus specifically on this green energy. First of all, I want to give you a definition for gratitude. It is not thankfulness. Thankfulness is about stuff, and it's about things, and it's about feelings, and it's all this stuff out here. It's all about people and society, okay? Gratitude is a personal thing. Gratitude is between you and whatever's running this thing and whatever's guiding that, okay? It doesn't have anything to do with being grateful to other people, and that's why you can get this done without being vulnerable. This is something you do in private. This is something you do all by yourself, and it's a dynamic living thing. People hear me say, and sometimes think it's funny, I say, well, I have such gratitude today because I hear the dishwasher and the washing machine running. So I have gratitude that I have dishes and clothing in a home. Well, that sounds kind of flippant on the surface, but in reality, every single time I hear the dishwasher running, that gratitude deepens. Every time I'm changing the laundry from the washing machine to the dryer, gratitude is just flowing into my clothing, through my hands, into the coolness of the water. This is just miraculous. See, that's the deal. There's no reason for us to be here on this planet. There's no reason for any of this to exist. The physicists can explain everything except why. Why did it start in the first place? And I wrote a book about that called Do We Exist? And the folks at the Arcturian High Council have helped me explain that a lot. In reverse here, but you have to go read the books. Right now we're talking chakras and here on the planet, okay? Gratitude, get that energy moving up in its natural state. The greatest way to do that is gratitude. And once you establish that you are living a life of gratitude, the gratitude grows and grows and grows until there's just no room for anything else. Sometimes my gratitude grows so big, it just pours out of my eyes as tears. People say, why are you crying? I'm just so happy. Okay? That's just it. What are you happy about? I'm happy because I'm here. This is happening right now. I'm looking down and this is a miracle, and it's me and it's happening. That gratitude, it runs my life. But I want you to understand, I have a lot of things that I'm grateful for that probably wouldn't be at the top of your list. I went through some really very, very traumatic stuff as a youngster, between drugs and rape and sexual abuse and religious trauma and some really freaky GI friends of my stepdad. I mean, bizarro stuff. No need to get into it. You all know what I'm talking about. Half of us have been there. And then there was the business in Panama, and I couldn't speak English and couldn't speak Spanish either. So basically, I was just there, couldn't talk to anybody. And then later on, there was stuff with my family, deaths in the family, all these things. A grandchild being born and dying right away, my first grandchild. Learning to be grateful for these things changes the course of your life. When I look back on the things that happened to me as a youngster, what I see is that I couldn't be who I am today had they happened any differently. And that's the same for you. But if you're in a place today where you don't like where you are, perhaps, just perhaps, take a look at turning one of the things you're so upset about into gratitude and see if that works for you. The homework for this part of the workbook is very specific. It says, write down 5 things you're grateful for. Everybody rips it out. No worry at all. I said, then write down 5 things that you consider to be big problems in your life. That's pretty quick too. They write them out. I said, write down 5 ways to turn those 5 problems into 5 more pieces of growing gratitude. And they're stumped. And they stop. And they have to stop and think about it. Well, you do have to think about it. You have to figure out what it did for you. What it did for you, not what it did to you. Okay? By being bombarded and having PTSD from religious trauma at a very young age, I have gratitude for the fact that I learned to trust my own intuition. I learned to trust myself. I learned that I could not trust people who read to me from a book from 2,000 years ago and say, this is what we live by and nothing else. And if you say, well, the book is so old, isn't there anything else? Oh my God, you have stepped on their sacred fingers. Don't do that. I gave up the bitterness about religion a long time ago, because gratitude came in. But when I talk about it, sometimes I still sound kind of bitter because I still know there's people out there like you guys. Some of you may be struggling with this, particularly in the United States, maybe in Europe. See, not so much in like Africa, India. They're used to a lot of different types of religion. And a lot of their religions are very spiritual in nature. So talking to the dead, talking to the non-physical, to them is kind of run of the mill. But when you get here in the United States, especially, and tell somebody you're talking to dead people, well, you automatically get the forehead stamp, crazy. And you walk around with that stamp for the rest of your life. And then everybody you talk to will say, oh, crazy, just leave her alone. As long as crazy is convenient and quiet. If crazy gets a little loud or gets a little passionate about something and starts making a noise, then they want to medicate crazy. Then they want to take whatever's not like them and make it like them. Sometimes The easiest thing to be grateful for when you're looking at a really bad situation is knowing that everything here changes constantly. Think about all the bad situations you've been in that you're not in today. Whatever situation you're in today is also going to go away, just like those did. And to be honest with you, most of the situation that you find yourself in today is thoughts about thoughts. We think about those bad things that happen to us. We think, I was a child. Why did those things happen? Or I was innocent in this case. Why did that happen to me? What did I do to deserve that? None of that stuff makes any difference. Those are all thoughts. Those things that happened to me when I was 10, they happened when I was 10. They made me sick when I was 40. That's 30 years of thinking about that shit. It didn't do any good. It didn't change any of it. None of it went back and was erased. Not 1 second of it disappeared from my life. But 20 or 30 years of my life of living this kind of life in gratitude and joy did disappear right under my feet with pretty little pills. Those of you here with me today, I'm glad to see you. Hello, I don't see any questions, so if there are any questions, let me know. If you're local to the Salem, Oregon area, we're happy to provide one-on-one service. We provide all kinds of spiritual counseling, Reiki groups, chakra alignment, and we have a lot of fun with other groups. Come visit our page on Chakra Talk or Marinsky's Magic and get all that information. Let's talk a little bit about sin. Okay. It's very hard to talk about chakras and talk about one chakra, because talking about one chakra is like trying to describe how a car runs by giving you one spark plug. It just doesn't work that way. But we try to, if one spark plug's not working, it needs attention. You see what I mean? But the whole process, the whole vehicle, this whole vehicle that we drive around every day is run by all the chakras. So very often I'm talking about this and it goes to that and it moves up and down. I try to keep it as clear as I can, but it's all one thing. Trying to separate it. The only reason to ever separate it is if there's an area that's lacking or that's broken or torn or whatever and needs repair. And then definitely you want to separate that out and get it repaired so that it doesn't affect everything else, because it is all affecting everything else. Okay, sin. This business with sin. First of all, when I was raised in the Church of Christ, it was things that are just everyday normal parts of life I was taught were sinful. Okay. And I think that the basic sins, people agree what they are, regardless of what your religions are. In the one I came in, they have a 10 commandments. In some, they have a golden rule. In some, they have a set of edicts. They're different religions, but they all basically say don't treat people like shit. Don't steal from people. Don't rob people. Don't take from people. You see, that's all of those things are in the negative. None of them say, share with everybody. Be kind and gracious to everybody. Welcome different people than you. Understand that people are, none of them say that. All their laws, all their commandments are what you're not supposed to do. Don't. As a very young child, I was raised up thinking there were so many things I couldn't do without going to hell that I literally walked around in life scared. As a child, I was an only child. I didn't have brothers and sisters to play with. Very early on in life, I've told you, my mom got lost in addiction. I was real mad about that for a long time too. And now I'm just so grateful to her because the thing she gave me from that is realizing, shit, I started raising myself when I was 10 and I did a pretty good job. She gave me a lot of strength and a lot of self-confidence that I wouldn't have if I'd had, we'll just say, a more regular life. Okay. Now I'll talk a little bit about the pink energy. I know a lot of you have an overlap, or you seem to have an overlap in your understanding of this love of God and love of people. Well, those are not the same thing. Love of God is this energetic thing that we've talked about. That's the source energy coming in through your heart chakra, moving up in its natural state, producing this state of that we feel joy. If you want to really understand what's going on up here as the physical rejoins the non-physical, I'll be happy to have a discussion with you about physics and recursive programming and feeding the Akashic record continually. But just know that when you're joyful, it's better for everything. Okay, we'll eventually get on up there and we'll get to talking about that. But right now, I'm not ready to do that with you. So let's talk about the difference in the green energy and the pink energy. What are we, 30 minutes? Okay. The green energy, I've told you, is unconditional. All it's required for you to have that love of source is that you be here and engage as a human. As soon as that will pushes up through there, the baby screams and they're here, then they've got that open. Nothing can be done about that. You can't sin and get that turned off. God don't quit loving you, or source doesn't quit providing you with energy because you have a sinful life or you do something that makes other people uncomfortable. What's a sin in this country is a religious practice in another. Yeah, murder, sacrifice. Those are the same thing. Depends on who you ask. Okay, there's things happening all over the world in groups of people that this one thinks is okay, but that one thinks is not okay. Well, that should tell you that we're not all on the same plan. We're actually not on anybody's plan but our own. And that's a lot of the problem. We tend to follow groups. We tend to follow, small groups a little bit. I mean, like local groups. We have a little local group here that's 10 or 15 or 20 people. And that's okay, but we're not really something to follow because we don't have an agenda. We're a place where people come and drink coffee and talk about everything spiritual, and they do that. But if you go to a church building and you hit there, you pop in every Sunday morning for 2 hours, they have an agenda. They have an agenda. They want you there doing a certain thing. They want it done a certain way, and they want money. You want to support them. Support them requires you to fund them. So the people that are going to teach me how to go to heaven need my money to do that. That sounds like buying your way to heaven. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that. Let's talk a little bit about, so the green energy we've talked about, it's unconditional. It comes on at birth. It's on until you cease to exist. Okay. What you do with it, however, can affect how you feel. Just because you feel like shit and you have a life of sickness and pain and all this down here, that's not God's fault. That's not Source's fault. That's because your energy is stuck down here and it's bringing in that beautiful, joyous energy. Bringing in that energy that just comes in here, but it's just sucking it down and ruining it. It's essentially ruining it. Okay, and it'll make you sick. And it'll make you sick every time. Okay, the green energy should hit here, move up. Okay, anything you love, anything that's joyous to you, anything that you have gratitude for, and that growing deep gratitude for just being here, that moves that energy up. Okay, that's the green stuff. Let's talk about this pink stuff. The pink stuff is very confusing and complicating to people, and it is so very often misunderstood. The pink stuff is actually not coming through the heart chakra. It is actually, the energy is going through it as it enters the heart chakra. Your pink energy is out away from your body just a bit. It's about 2 layers out as they divide all the auras. And it's in your emotional layer, very close to the body. All the energy coming through, all the source energy coming into the heart chakra is passing through that emotional layer. So you bet Your emotions have a lot to do with how you feel, how you respond, how you live, how other people respond to you, all that, okay? But understand, it's not in the body, and it's not in the green chakra, and it is not affecting the green chakra energy coming in, except that the energy has to pass through it, okay? This pink energy, now this is the stuff that can kind of get fun here on the planet. When you get the pink energy, let's talk about the big one, romance. Everybody loves everybody. This is sexy stuff, okay? You've got pink energy. You've got your boy and you've got your girl, or you've got your girl and your girl. I don't care. As long as you love somebody, I'm happy you're loving somebody. Put it here. You see this? These are two. The green energy is coming in separately. The pink energy here in the middle begins to mix and mingle. Okay? There's where you get that. You get that. Ooh, I feel that. I can feel that you love me. I feel this interchange with this other human being. If you're having that interchange with another human being, that's that pink energy. If you have a life like I did, where your job is compassion, working with other people, I was a registered nurse for 30 years. That is pink energy. That's compassion. People say, oh, I love you unconditionally, but that's not true. You cannot love another human unconditionally. The condition that you know them exists. If you don't know them, then you may have that green love energy just for everybody, but you don't love them as a human being, as another person. You can say you do. People say, oh, yes, I do. I love everybody. Well, that's just fine and dandy. You love everybody, but you don't know them. There's a condition to your love having an effect on them. You have to know them, okay? So when I say it's conditional meaning the condition for it to even exist is that you know this other person, okay? It doesn't mean, some people talk about the conditional love being, okay, and this comes up a lot, and I just saw this go by at Christmas, and it just makes me sick. If you don't behave, I'll throw your presents away. What the hell is that? I saw this thing on Facebook that says, wrap up empty boxes, and every time your child misbehaves, throw one in the fireplace. Well, there's some establishment of unconditional love, isn't it? No, that's crap. That's abusing people's emotions. Okay, how about this? How about you've got this person here who has some importance to you. Okay, we're going to use mother and child right now. Okay, and we'll use that Christmas box bullshit thing. Child's having a bad day. Child ain't doing too good today. Mother says, I don't like the way you are acting today. I don't like the way you're behaving. Okay? That sounds pretty conditional, doesn't it? Now, did the mother say, I don't like you because of the way you're behaving? Or did she say, I don't like your behavior? It gets real messy here. People have a tendency to decide they don't like another human because of their behavior, when in fact it's the behavior they don't like. People also do this in the other direction. People think they're madly in love with another human because of their behavior, when in fact it's to your my behavior responding to your behavior, and the emotions are similar, and they get all stirred up and it feels really good, but it's all conditional. If one of us dies, that's over. If some big, whatever sickness comes along, that may be over. Who knows? That's the thing with this conditional. Think about marriage. We get married and we promise, I will be with you forever. Forever gets to be a long time, especially towards the end. Forever is not happening. There's no forever. If you're talking forever, you're talking forever this lifetime. So that's not even a legitimate statement. I'll be with you until my body dies. Well, even that's ridiculous. That's saying I at 20 know what I'm going to be doing at 70. Well, and then a lot of people will lock into that. They'll lock into that and they'll be in an unhappy marriage, but because of this religious training and this sin and this stuff that feels like it's conditions of God's love, well, then you've got a person who's in an unhappy marriage for 50 years and they die at 80 and They're miserable. What's the point of that? Marriage is a societal thing. There was a time when marriage had to do with land and money and passing things down through families. It's nothing like that today. Marriage today is a legal contract. It's a legal contract that says one of us is going to take care of the other one forever, and we're not going to charge the state anything to do that. Well, it didn't work out. 35 years in, you change your plans. I'll tell you this, if you get yourself stuck in a marriage that's been 30 years or 10 years or 70 years, and one of you is just brick stone, ain't changing a thing, and the other one's trying to grow, ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. That is that conditional stuff. All that pink stuff is all conditional. You want to get yourself all wrapped up and get fixed internally. Get away from all of it. Stop it. Drop the TV. Drop whatever you're thinking that you're worrying about. You're worrying about children starving in Africa. You can't do anything about that. Okay? You can't do anything about that, but sit there and think about it and make yourself miserable. That doesn't help those children. If you want to help those children, take some food and go to Africa, but don't sit here and think about it. That does nothing except destroy your life. Well, I have a vested interest in you not destroying your life, because every one of you that's walking around miserable, feeding that into the Akashic record, means I have to feed 10 times as much joy in just to make up for it. Okay? If we're all feeding joy in, don't you see, we all feed the joy in, we all draw the joy back. We all feed the joy, we draw the joy back. That's our source energy. The more joy is out there in source energy, the more joy we get back. A lot of times the things I talk about don't sit too well with people. But I've come a long distance of many hours, years now, of sitting and looking internally and dealing with my guides and trying to figure this all out. And what I've come to find about it is there's one person on this planet that can explain this to my satisfaction, and that's me. And I want you to understand, I don't expect any of you to believe a word I say, but if it nudges you and you go looking for something yourself, that's grand. If I can give you anything in just sharing my energy with you, that's wonderful. This is pink, conditional energy. And by opening myself up on Facebook like this and in this live thing and saying, here I am, let's share. Well, I get to share with a lot of you. Do you see? You don't have to be in my presence to have me care about you. But I do have to know you exist. Once you get to have your children be grown, say to puberty, the root chakra function of that connection, once they're able to walk around dressed, clean, and feed themselves, it's kind of not necessary anymore. So societal things take over. When your kid's 14 or 15 years old, they don't need you to take care of them. They could get along in the world okay, with the exception of having to have money in this society, but they can eat, they can fend for themselves, whatever. So at that point, choosing to stay in a relationship with your children or your grandchildren becomes the pink energy. It becomes, they're my friend. I like them. I want to hang out with them. Or it may become, we don't seem to have anything to hang out about. We're no longer compatible. There's no joining our pink energies. And that's okay too. As I've come through this ascension and into the place where I live now, I've lost a lot of family members. I mean, they're not lost. They still live right across town, but I haven't seen them. I'm no longer within the parameters of what their conditions qualify as this is a good place to be. And I'm okay with that. If sometime that changes and they come back into my life, then that'll be great then too. See, but it's being grateful and joyous about whatever's happening as it's happening, because right now is all you got. Right now, right here, right now. This is what's real. This is all that's real. All the rest of it is thoughts. We're going to work, and we're steadily working, and I'm in the middle of writing a book that isn't finished yet, but it's getting long. about thoughts, and we're going to work on how to control those thoughts and how to direct them in such a way that they keep these channels open and keep that thing flowing with joy. The more joy you can have, the easier this gets. And what I said earlier was an absolute truth. You can eventually just get so much joy, there's just no room for anything else. I get up in the morning, I'm joyous before, when I open my eyes, oh, I'm here again. Here it is, another miracle. Even being here for a day is a miracle. There's no reason we should be here. The physicists cannot tell you why we're here. They can tell you how it happens. They can tell you how the game works. Can't tell you why. Spontaneous coalescence. Chakras. They created everything. Chakras created the earth and the sky and space before we ever were a part of the picture. If you look into some of the Native American stuff and the Aboriginal stuff, they feel there are 7 or 8 chakras on the planet. I say 7 or 8 because they list 7 and then one that moves. And those are intakes from Mother Earth. So that would be Mother receiving source energy. We live here in Oregon pretty close to a big one of those. That's Mount Shasta. It's just down the highway, 6 or 8 hours. The rest of them are other places around the world. I think that may be the only one in the U.S. The one I'm particularly drawn to is Uluru in Australia. And it's always been that way. As soon as I came into this being, I've been drawn to Australia. So it's old stuff. I haven't got to go there yet, but eventually someday I plan to spend a month or so in Alice Springs. Talk a little bit about this. Let's take this gratitude one more step further. Gratitude through the heart chakra. Once you get used to living with your crown chakra kind of offline, like I do, makes it hard to remember things, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But if you get used to living in that area of this heart chakra, just kind of always responding to energy coming in, coming out, and everything's just this great big huge joy, it becomes real easy to get into manifestation. And manifestation in the old ways was all about visualizing what you wanted, and then it would come to be. You visualized it as a success, you visualized it complete, you visualized whatever it was. Okay, visualization, this is working with the third eye. Visualization, imagination, that's third eye stuff. And that's fantastic for deciding what you want to manifest. Just whatever you can dream up, you can manifest it. But what I have found to be the most effective for me when I actually want or need something, or sometimes when I just mention something and am not real clear that I just asked the universe for it, is to be grateful that I already have it. It got kind of funny a while back. We swim all the time, and I buy all my clothes at the secondhand store. So I said to the universe, I need this certain size of swimsuit, and I'd like to find one. Well, after I had about 10 of them that I bought for $2 or $3 a piece, all brand names, new with tags and everything, I said, okay, guys, that's enough. I've got enough swimsuits. And so then I quit noticing swimsuits in my awareness. But it's just that simple, and it's almost comical. They're so eager. They're so eager to roll out and do whatever you want, whatever you want. I have, for the past couple or 3 years, we've traveled a lot in Canada. And I usually, because of airline tickets and things like that, you're planning these things months ahead of time. And so it's kind of funny because as I'm planning the trip in the summer, I'm planning a trip that we're going to take in the fall or whatever, and it should normally be cold and anything. And I'm just like, it's just going to be so fascinating to go on this trip and have this extraordinary great weather that they're not expecting. and I'll be damned if it don't happen every time. I mean, we've set record heat temperatures when we've been visiting countries in Canada when it should have been cold, but it wasn't. It was beautiful. We were in British Columbia in March, and it was 80 degrees. People were coming out of the woodwork in their bathing suits. You know, and people look at that and go, oh, that's bullshit. You're not affecting the weather. Well, am I or am I not? I'm really grateful for beautiful days, and I sure do get a lot of them. When we travel, I'm always very grateful ahead of time for, you know, no traffic snarls, no all that stuff. And even in like Toronto, oh my God, Toronto's like 10 million people who still didn't have any issues. We just drove right through it. It was a pain in the ass, and we don't like that, but we didn't have any issues. And all that comes from just gratitude. Whatever I'm grateful for, they just give me more and more to be grateful for. You know, I'm trying to think if there's any way I would really like to encourage you guys to talk with me, but y'all are just listening. Everybody's just listening. I can't really give you homework. You don't have the book. I don't have any expectations for you, but I would love to know some of the things that you do that charges up your gratitude, because I know you do them. There's a lot of joy in this world. I'm not the only one walking around in bliss. And every moment that we have that joy, if you have that joy but you can't sustain it, be grateful that you know you can have it. Be grateful you know you can do it. I used to tell a story about this. It's not really a story, it's a memory. A kid coming home with a tuba, like fifth grade. Well, a fifth grader can't play a tuba. They can have a tuba and they can start to learn to play a tuba, but they can't play a tuba. So you hear some of the most god-awful sounds coming out of the other bedroom. It sounds like there's animals being slaughtered in there. And then one day you hear it, whoa, that great tuba noise. And you're like, oh my God, they're going to get this finally. So you have this gratitude for that tuba noise, but the kid is pumped. They're like, I can do this. I got it. I'm so grateful for that tuba noise. And then they just practice that much more. So then you've got more animals being slaughtered, but eventually they learn to play the tuba. That momentary thing of knowing you can do it gives you the drive and the motivation to keep trying. So if you can find 5 minutes of absolute bliss in your day, that's what you need to know, because you know you can do it. And if you can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it all day long, every day. Very seldom do I bump out of my normal vibration anymore. So I see the world quite humorous. I see lots and lots of joy here. I find people to be absolutely amazing as I watch them in their interactions, and they don't know they're being watched. And I see energy everywhere. I mean, I see shooting energy. 2 people are standing and ordering coffee, and I've got rainbow lightning bolts going between them. So I live this really fascinating life because I have so much vision of things that other folks don't look at. But if you can do it for 5 minutes, you can do it all day. And if you can do it for 5 minutes, then tomorrow do it for 10. And the next day do it for 15. And if you can hold that sense of bliss, when you get up to where you can hold that for a half an hour, you have just cleared the negativity out of the front of you for the next 2 days. Joy produces joy. Joy goes out into the world and just makes everything better. Everything is better when we're joyful. The very best thing you can do for the whole entire planet is take care of yourself, get your chakras lined up, and learn to experience joy, and then learn to stabilize it. Joy is physical. Joy is physics. It is not, like I said before, we're not talking about don't worry, be happy. That's crown stuff. We're not talking at the crown. We haven't even got to the crown yet. We're stuck down here. We're working down here today. All this energy I'm talking about coming in here, it don't come in as a thought. It comes in as pure energy. Pure energy passes through your emotional state, remember, and into your heart chakra. Keep those emotions light, open, accepting. Keep that heart chakra open and running. Watch the joy. Just watch the joy. It'll run off of you like Niagara Falls. Okay. I've always said there's a beautiful grace in knowing when a thing is finished, and I think we're finished today. I love you all. That's pink energy. If you have any questions, I'll be right here tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Bye.